in the last year have actually toured the elementary school here in Jackson? By a show of hands, can I just see that? Okay, so less than half. What about the high school? Even fewer than that. Okay. I'd just like to kind of get a pulse of what's going on in the room, because it's funny, when I speak to individuals in the community, it's surprising how many have a viewpoint, but yet have not toured the facilities. And I just, whatever. As I go through this, most of what I'm going to be referring to is the Village of Jackson Elementary School. That's our home base, that's primary, but a lot of what I'm going to talk about really goes without saying. It affects the high school portion of this as well. Just a couple of points to what you were saying. You know, your estimation of $15 million to do a repair on the elementary school versus the approximately $24 million to do a rebuild, but yet that would not give us a gym, lunchroom, it would only give us some ADA, and virtually no new classroom sizes. To me, that seems like throwing a lot of money at something that isn't going to get us anywhere. And then, you know, you were talking about waiting another 3 to 4 more years to buy down that debt, and I get that, except when you look at the cost of construction as it rises and the cost of interest rates, which I promise you will go up, you are going to more than eat up, I think, this is just my opinion, the cost savings that you might save by the interest that you were talking about. Those are just a couple of notes. I'm not here to debate, I'm just here to give my opinion as a real estate agent. So that's kind of where I'm staying here. So I've been a real estate broker for 26 years in Washington County. I'm a local business owner, a taxpayer, a father to, and a former board member for the Village of Jackson. What the hell, I printed this long enough, I don't even do the last one. Some have claimed that the district is rushing into this or has not spent enough time or energy in investing in quote-unquote other possibilities. As already stated by Superintendent Don, this process has been on the table for well over a decade, if not in discussion for over 2 decades. For those that feel that remodeling would be a better or more cost-effective option, at the end of the day, I don't believe that to be true, and I just cited some of those things just a little bit earlier. The current location, and I'm referring to the elementary school at this point, obviously, is a landlocked site with minimal exterior space and virtually no parking, and the building itself is a hodgepodge of additions that date back to the 1800s. I know he cited 1915, but there are things on record that will show that it's a possibility of 1800. Actually, I think it's the same year that the paperclip was invented, and I'm not exaggerating. You would literally have to tear down a large portion of the building, and you would still be stuck with inefficient spaces, flow, and many mechanical issues due to elevation changes. Even Darren Sievers, who is the superintendent of the Slinger School District, has been quoted as saying that the West Bend School District has a serious facilities problem. He has no skin in the game here, but he even recognizes this, and this is from a fellow superintendent in our community. For those of you that remember the controversy behind the build for the hospital on Highway P, you may also remember that ultimately, in the long run, it was just not fiscally responsible to spend more money remodeling at that old site. Of course, that project was also extremely contentious due to pulling the building out of the city of West Bend and putting it in the town of Pope. But the reality was I was quite involved with that too. When you really looked at the numbers, it didn't make sense to throw the millions of dollars to update an old facility that would still leave you with a lot of inefficiencies. And in the long run, it was better to do what they did. In this case, many of the naysayers don't even live in the Village of Jackson, but rather in the city of West Bend, and I get it. They don't have kids that go to the school. However, Jackson Elementary is part of the district, and the taxpayers in Jackson do contribute to the schools in West Bend. Not to mention, the children that exit this elementary school funnel into the larger system. As a group of business leaders, let's once again address the cost of money. The school district would actually be doing our taxpayers, in my opinion, more harm in the long run by continuing to kick this can down the road. We are never going to be able to borrow money at the current rates nor secure building contracts at a lower price than now. Never. It's just not going to happen. Even if rates were to dip again in the future, which all indications show that they're not going to, construction costs will always go up. Regarding the quality of schools and the effect on property values, in 2013, the National Association of Realtors surveyed home buyers and found that 22% of them listed homes and their proximity to a school as part of their buying decision. 29% of buyers listed schools' quality as a deciding factor in the decision. Again, 1/3 of all buyers consider schools at the top of their list when deciding on a purchase. Think about that for a minute. I can speak from personal experience that when I am dealing with buyers, schools are very high on their list of what they are thinking about when they are moving into a community. Quality of education is of utmost importance, and Jackson Elementary does a fantastic job at that. Statistics prove it. Nobody can argue with the quality of education that's coming out of Jackson Elementary School. However, parents also consider the environment that their kids are placed in. Make no mistake about it, perception is reality. In this study, they also found that for every 5 buyers, 1 buyer would be prepared to give up a garage or a bedroom for a good school. They also found that for every 3 buyers surveyed, 1 buyer would even settle for a smaller home to get access to a good school. And over half of those surveys said that they would sacrifice nearby shopping options for a better school. Now this amazing stat, 1 out of 5 of those surveys said that they would pay between 6 and 10% more for a home, and 1 out of 10 people surveyed stated that they would even go higher for a home that has access to the quote-unquote right school. The same survey showed that a whopping 91% of respondents included school boundaries in their decision-making process for choosing a home. What makes these figures even more interesting is that not all homeowners in this survey even had children or planned on having children. Now I turn to a local example. A little over 10 years ago, the Slinger School District embarked on a construction of the new elementary school in Addison. As a local real estate agent, I can speak to the result that that had on property values within that boundary. In short, it was staggering. Once it was announced that the new elementary school was going to be built, people rushed to purchase homes within that area so their kids could go to the quote-unquote new school. As you can guess, supply and demand took over, property values went way up, and the development of more housing took off. As a matter of fact, due to the increase of people moving into that area, the district actually had to do an expansion. Now, for the record, I am not saying build it and they will come. But what I am saying is it just happens to be a net result of a new facility. There is no doubt in my mind that a new facility will not only benefit the children who go to Jackson Elementary, but it will ultimately have a positive effect on businesses within our community. There will be an increase in development which will increase businesses for our local gas stations, grocery and other various shopping stores, baking, restaurants, floors, hair salons, and all other services. As business leaders, I'm sure you can connect these dots. As a matter of fact, on February 28th, the West Bend Area Chamber released a statement of support, which in part states, quote unquote, or quote, good schools and local tax levels are the 2 most significant factors considered by businesses when looking at expansion or relocation of facilities. Our property values and the attractiveness of our community depend on the quality of our schools and how we maintain them, unquote. If we have not already, I formally ask this organization to take a stand in support of the upcoming referendum. The passage of this referendum in April not only will benefit the children in our community, but it will have a positive outcome for businesses and ultimately local tax base. In an article written by Ken Casorni, a real estate investor, he studied a neighborhood in Metro Atlanta and did a research project looking at home prices in 2006 and then again in 2009. We all know what happened in 2007 and 2008. In this study, he found that homes that had a desirable school nearby tended to weather the falling real estate market much better than those with mediocre schools nearby. In his paper, Corsini demonstrated that buying a home in an excellent school district with sound facilities just makes good business sense. Now, this is a real estate investor flipper. Good schools can help insulate a home from market fluctuations and therefore make a property a more sound investment. This is a perfect example of how schools can impact buying decisions. Good schools versus higher taxes. Well, one major benefit of having good schools is the appreciation in home values. What this also leads to is paying higher property taxes. On one hand, you can sympathize with the fact that nobody wants to pay more taxes, but what they often don't consider is how much equity has been put in their pocket because of those facilities. Homeowners may pay a little more annually out of their pocket, but when it comes time to sell, they will be rewarded. The narrative needs to change. We need to look at this as an investment and not a cost. For those that say there is no correlation between the age and condition of a building and the quality of education or test outcomes of children, I say maybe. We are partially a product of our environment. And I believe that not only teachers that surround our children have an impact on their education, but the buildings they spend 8 hours a day in can have a direct factor in their overall attitude, inspiration, and creativity. If that is not true, then why are tens of billions of dollars spent every year on the design and layout of workplaces and office buildings for those same reasons just cited? Over the years, I have in one way or another been involved in conversations regarding the various school referendums throughout Washington County. Some have failed and some have passed. Just recently, I bumped into an individual who said he had done the math, and if this referendum passes, it will quote unquote cost him $2,900 over the next 19 years in property taxes. Let me repeat that. It will cost him $2,900 over the next 19 years in real estate taxes. My response was that I thought it was a very inexpensive investment considering what I believe it would do for the value of his home. Another homeowner confronted me stating that this need for a new building is a quote-unquote farce, is what she said to me, and that if this referendum passes, she was going to move. I quickly recommended that she waits until the school is completed, therefore I could probably get her another 5% on the sale of her home. She had no further comments. In conclusion, it seems like we live in a society that justifies $5 cups of coffee, billion-dollar sporting arenas, even when they are not necessary, i.e. the Pfizer firm. But when it comes to the facilities that our kids spend a large part of their daily life in, suddenly spending money is taboo. Stop looking at our schools as an expense, but rather as an investment. We have plenty of examples in our own backyard as proof. That's my opinion.
Well, at this time, Randy, if you don't mind, maybe you guys can come up here and I think we can open up to questions.